Well, here we are, another video here. And this one today is Democrats are delusional about why they're losing Hispanic voters. Grade 7, and let's get into this article right here. And it has November is fast approaching. And Democrats have a problem. In key states like Texas, they are losing Hispanic voters. But rather than being honest about it, leaders within the party are dabbling in delusion about what the problem is. It's a lack of investment, they say. Indeed, that is one factor, but plenty of evidence suggests President Joe Biden's results, combined with Democrats' ideology, have become a problem with the voters that tons of progressives and conservatives never expected to see shift red or even become GOP curious. This is actually something I've been seeing now since probably about 2016 or so, is a shift as Democrats become more and more leftist. Not liberal, leftist. They're losing the support of minorities, and they don't understand this. The left doesn't understand this. Left thinks they're fighting for the minorities. And if you're not on board with them, you're racist. But continuing here, in June, a Mexican-born Republican Hispanic woman, Myra Flores, won a special election to replace Democrat who retired early. That followed a 2020 election that saw surprisingly high Hispanic support nationwide for former President Donald Trump. Yeah, that shocked a lot of Democrats. And despite I like this little part. No, we're talking about Trump. Despite strings of comments that read as casually racist, and an immigration policy that expanded holding kids in cages and separating kids from parents as a supposed deterrent. Things that Democrats did, sorry. And Democrats are... there's a whole list of sayings from Democrats like Biden and all that stuff that are also racist. So that's just complete... that entire area right there is just complete nonsense. That support did not come just from stereotypically more conservative Cuban Americans either. The former president made big inroads in South Texas in 2020, apparently barely losing to Biden in 3 Rio Grande Valley districts. The results also followed congressional Democrats capturing lower percentages of the vote relative to prior years in these same 3 districts in 2020. So it wasn't just Biden or Trump. In 2020, Representative Henry Sular bagged 58%. Representative Vince Gonzalez won 50.5%, and former Rep. Philemon Vega about 55.5%. But in 2018, those numbers were 84% for Sular, 60% in the other two. So they all went down. And in 2016, they were 66%, so that went 57% and 62% for those Democrats, respectively. In 2014, a big year for Republicans. They were 82%, 64% for Gonzalez's predecessor, and 60% again for Vela. Let's not forget that in 2020, several Republicans won back Hispanic-dominated districts that the party had lost in 2018. It's true that in last week's special election, Democrats didn't invest a ton, while Republicans got out their checkbooks. However, when a very progressive Hispanic, Representative Che Garcia, representing parts of the Chicago area, dismissed the loss by saying, "I think our historic disinvestment caught up with us. We're on our heels, and we need to invest heavily." He's missing that in races where his fellow travelers on the left wing of the Democratic Party have put in real time and effort, places like the Rio Grande Valley, they still have not prevailed. That means this isn't just about money. It's about policy. Right there. It's about policy. The further left they're going, it's just this... they're going further and further left, faster and faster and faster. And across the board, they're losing that support. Apparently, here's what Representative Cooler, a pro-life, pro-gun, moderate Democrat who has ruffled feathers by critiquing President Biden's handling of the border was endorsed in 2006 by the conservative Club for Growth, haven't heard of them, and opposes initiatives like Garcia's proposed 36% APR interest rate cap on short-term small dollar loans. He is utterly unappealing to this person, I don't know, indeed hated by base Democrats. That brings up the question, what is a base Democrat now? Far leftist? Looking more and more like it. But this guy's challenger, Jessica Cineros, has the Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders profile those progressive voters love. To boot, on the eve of his primary, Cooler was also rumored to be on the cusp of engulfment in a major political scandal. Amazing how those things always happen right at the time of election, or right at the right when people are about to vote. Oh, here's a scandal. It's to the point where it's almost a playbook by Democrats. I come to expect it every election especially against tighter elections between Democrats and Republicans. You can almost guarantee some sort of scandal against the Republican. But apparently, I guess not. He should have been a dead man walking into Election Day, but he wasn't. And his triumph over Cisneros wasn't about money either, no matter what Garcia may say about Democrats and investment in the race to replace Gonzalez. There simply was no lack of investment by Garcia's ideological ally, Cineros, in her primary to oust the heretical Henry Cooler. Again, ideology. No, what did she stand for? As of May 4th, we know both candidates raised over $3 million. Cineros actually raised closer to $4.5 million by that point, and both had spent $3 million or more. Well, hard to believe Cineros didn't spend it all. Cineros was much lauded for the energy and time she devoted to the campaign, as well as her message discipline. She was not a lazy or reckless candidate like, say, the soon-to-be outgoing Republican Representative Madison Cawthorn. But barring some massive trove as yet undiscovered runoff ballots, those always seem to happen too. Ever notice that? They'll be close on that. Oh, Democrats are down 2,000 votes. Oh, here's some 3,000 new ballots. Oh, 2,800 of them are for the Democrat candidate. It's always amazing. I've seen that happen now for 10, 15 years. This happens. It's nothing new, and it's actually quite. It makes your head scratch after a while. Democrats continue to ignore the fact that for many people who have familiar or personal histories with countries where socialism hasn't played out well, having a self-described Democrat Socialist Congresswoman, AOC, being nearly as nationally visible as the party's actual leader, Biden, that is a dog that just doesn't hunt. Interesting phrase there. But really, no, the Democrats are pushing socialism. There are many who come from socialist countries and they go, it doesn't work, and I'm sorry, the whole entire, you guys just didn't do it right, we're going to do it better, is complete BS. Other proverbial non-working canines include the seemingly chaos due to what looks to regular people as Democrats' ideologically driven mismanagement in our literal backyard, basic immigration, a stance so favorable to abortion rights that not even pro-choice Republican senators could back it when it was put before them in legislative form, and out-of-control inflation that the president seems to poo-poo as a problem because of wage gains that may or may not keep up. Of course, he's also said no need to worry about it. It's from Putin because rich people aren't paying taxes, and I think the latest big thing is corporate greed for inflation. All that stuff has been out there. And that just, again, people start looking at it, minorities are starting to look at their pocketbook and go, well, What the hell? Hispanic Americans aren't as rich as their white counterparts. So when inflation bites, it's reasonable to expect them to be more pissed about it. It's also not surprising that Texans may not be thrilled with the less than enthusiastic attitude the Biden administration seems to have taken with the oil industry. Yeah, no. All this type of stuff, just Democrats aren't doing well here. In the aftermath of last week's result, Representative Gonzalez's opinion that Democrats had just forgotten about the brown people on the border. No, they hadn't forgotten about them. They never cared about them. Saying that he hoped the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, DCCC, would learn its lesson, but that the party was taking Latinos in South Texas for granted. Cooler agreed, insisting that DCCC needs to sit down and look at South Texas seriously. You can't take Hispanics for granted, which is what they always do. And I'd even go even further. Sorry, Democrats are taking all minorities for granted, not just Hispanics. As they say on Twitter, that tracks. Democrats have traditionally appealed to Hispanic voters by tagging Republicans as racist and pledging to deliver immigration reform if they're put to power. Yeah, they always do that. And of note, the two messages are interrelated. Not really. Sorry. Just because you're pro or you're against immigration doesn't make you racist. That's not racist. But when Democrats controlled Congress and the White House during the first 2 years of the Obama presidency, they did not deliver on immigration reform. I actually remember that I actually went and watched a pro-immigration rally. This is where I really, this turned me against the leftist immigration, because I went to the immigration rally. This was me personally. I saw it, was watching it. And as I'm watching them walk down the street and wave their flags, I realized I didn't see one U.S. flag. Every flag they had was Mexican. And it's like they want to be citizens of the U.S., but not one U.S. flag at all. They had banners, no, we want to be citizens and all sorts of stuff, and they're all waving their Mexican flags and this and that. And it's like, I'm sorry, if I went to, say, Greece and wanted to be a citizen of Greece, wanted to do all that type of stuff and did that, I would make sure everybody had a flag of Greece, not from wherever they came from. But continue here. Obama did have 58 votes in the Senate, and they probably could have had some Senate Republicans back them when they were in office. Democrats have had all the time in the world since noon on January 20th, 2021 to act on immigration, and yet they've passed nothing. Ironically, the most recent instances where comprehensive immigration reform almost came to pass were when Republicans were leading the issue. The first was during the President George W. Bush's administration, where he championed the cause, and the next was in 2013 when the bill actually passed the Senate with the filibuster intact, though the Republican former Representative Bob Gulati, whom many D.C. insiders regard as the now abdicated king of committee chair inaction, predictably failed to do anything to move it forward in the House. Interestingly enough, I think Reagan did a kind of a mass citizenship for illegals type thing or something like that. I think Reagan. And I think another one under Clinton. And it's one of those, ironically, I think we've done two of them. Neither one have solved the issue. Yet that's what Democrats push. It's starting to look as though many Democrats want to run on the issue, but not execute the solution. Where immigration is concerned, and not just to cynical pro-immigration Republicans like me either, of course it's also true that Democrats are losing ground with working-class voters overall. Hispanic attrition is, to a degree, part and parcel of that. But there's something driving the trend, and being driven by it as it barrels forward. Yeah, it's called the leftist ideology. Now, things like, what is a woman? Oh, immigrations, all this type stuff that they're doing, immigration, inflation, oil. No, they're more and more looking like they don't give a damn about the U.S. citizen. Democrats need to drop their delusions about Hispanic voters, actually all minority voters, and do it now. As they fail to do so, 2022 will be even more brutal for them. As a bonus, we might see an honest-to-God, longer-term political realignment in America, one that few Democrat presidential candidates will actually relish. True. There is... I'm actually seeing on YouTube more and more. You can take a look around and see some black, Hispanic, minority groups who are talking more and more. They're watching all types of groups. They're getting on watching Candace Owens and Larry Elder and those type people. And what happens is they start watching them just to be more open-minded. They may not even agree with them. I've seen them where they don't agree, and that's fine. But they're watching it, opening their mind, and what ends up happening is leftists start attacking them over it. And you see it all the time. No, I can't believe you're watching this racist guy and this and that. And it's like, no, they don't provide any counter argument. It's just, if you watch, Larry Elder, I've heard Larry Elder, he's a white supremacist. All this type stuff. And that's what they do. They don't ever counter any of his arguments. And so what happens is these people start going, oh, what? Why are you attacking me over just listening to somebody? And this is something that the left has done now for at least 25 years. But go on out there, see some of these people as well. And but what do you think here? Are Democrats really? Do you think they're losing these minority voters based on going far left? What this person said in the article? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment. Come on over to Rumble. Subscribe to me over there. And I'll see you next video.